A study found that taxpayers who represent themselves in tax court won on all issues just 6% of the time. Yes, that's 6%. So oftentimes, the right professional doesn't just reduce your stress during an IRS audit or dispute. It can be the difference between owing nothing and owing everything. So I'm Andrew Bosserman. I'm a tax attorney, CPA, and former IRS agent. Chapter 10 of my book, which is the IRS Survival Guide, is about finding the right help and knowing when you need it. So not all tax professionals are created equal, and there are three main types. And before I get into this, tax professionals come in all sorts of flavors. There's three main types I'm going to discuss, but there are very good professionals that hold each credential I'm going to talk about, and there are also ones that are not very good. So I'm going to be talking about generalizations and some differences between what they can and cannot do, but I want you to know that there are very capable individuals in all sorts of certifications, licenses, etc. So the three main types are enrolled agent, certified public accountant, and tax attorneys. So let's talk about enrolled agents first. They are federally authorized to represent taxpayers before the IRS. No sort of degree is required. They take a test administered by the IRS, and that allows them to represent taxpayers before the IRS. Oftentimes, they're great for straightforward audits, basic representation, and there's also very knowledgeable enrolled agents that are great for more complex representation. Oftentimes, they may be more affordable than a CPA or an attorney, but it's really just going to depend on the enrolled agent. However, their communications aren't protected by attorney-client privilege, and also enrolled agents is a certification that oftentimes that requires the least education. It doesn't really have an education requirement. So you just have to be careful when choosing one to make sure that they are well versed in tax law and especially IRS representation. Now, let's talk about certified public accountants, and they often go by their acronym CPAs. They are generally excellent for financial and tax expertise. They can represent clients in audits and all sorts of IRS representation, but enrolled agents, their communications lack attorney-client privilege, and also they may not be experts in IRS representation. CPAs have to have at least a bachelor's degree and oftentimes will have a master's degree in accounting, meaning they're generally very technically sound at accounting and if they specialize in tax. But oftentimes, unless they have significant experience dealing with the IRS, they don't have that much experience solving complex issues with the IRS. So while they can excel at doing audits, preparing tax returns, and doing tax planning and other sorts of tasks like that, you definitely have to be careful in choosing them for IRS representation just to make sure that they have experience and that they can solve your problem. Finally, let's talk about tax attorneys. So an experienced tax attorney is oftentimes the full package for complex disputes. They can appear in court, which CPAs and enrolled agents can't unless they pass a special exam for tax court. And communications with an attorney are protected by attorney-client privilege. Oftentimes, tax attorneys are more expensive, probably the most expensive solution on this list as compared to enrolled agents and certified public accountants, but are worth it when the stakes are high. Now, when you're choosing a tax attorney, you definitely want to choose one that has experience with IRS representation. There are tax attorneys that focus more on transactional and planning matters. So say you're selling your business or trying to restructure and figuring out the tax implications or just doing general tax planning, or ones that just occasionally dabble in tax representation. You want to make sure you are hiring one when you're dealing with an IRS issue that focuses on IRS representation, like I do. That's all I do. I focus on helping business owners with IRS problems. So here's the practical guidance as you're trying to figure out a professional. If you have something like a simple notice, a minor discrepancy, some sort of basic representation you're looking for, definitely an EA can handle this efficiently and generally affordably. If you have more of a complex financial situation, if you're dealing with a more in-depth audit, or you need tax preparation and audit, something like that, you can look more for a CPA who has tax controversy experience. But oftentimes if you're dealing with, say, a large assessment, any potential fraud allegations, if you need to go to tax court, criminal referrals, complex international issues, or you just want the experience of someone who has been on both sides of the IRS, or that will view your issue more from a legal side, you probably need a tax attorney. So one example from my book, a CPA once called me on a Friday afternoon about a biotech company that was facing nearly $100,000 in IRS international reporting penalties. Their previous abatement request has been denied, but I wrote a new protest and was able to get the penalties abated. The difference, it was just knowing exactly how to frame the argument and having the sort of knowledge of how to take it to appeals and to tax court and beyond if necessary. So when you're evaluating a potential tax professional, here are some questions you should ask. You should ask things like, have you handled cases like mine before? What's your experience with IRS appeals, if you're dealing with IRS appeals? What's your fee structure? Flat fee, hourly, contingency? And I have another video on my channel that goes through those type of agreements. Will you or a staff member be handling my case? What's your honest assessment of my situation? And there's actually another video you can find on my channel called 10 Questions to Ask Before Hiring a Tax Attorney. And that's really helpful for going through all the questions you should ask. Red flags that I definitely watch out for, things like promises of guaranteed results, pressure to sign quickly, unwillingness to explain strategy, and no direct communication. Maybe you're always bounced to assistants or lower level personnel. And also, oftentimes, taxpayers are concerned about switching professionals mid-case. If you're not getting clear communication, deadlines are being missed, the IRS agent seems to be escalating for no reason, or your gut just says something is wrong, I think you should definitely trust your gut. It's your money and your future on the line. I have been on the IRS agent side when I was auditing someone. They switched professionals mid-case, not a big deal, and actually the new professional was much better to work with. And same, business owners have switched to me partway through an IRS audit, and we were actually able to resolve issues that just weren't going anywhere with the prior representation. So definitely don't keep going down a path that you know is a dead end, especially with IRS representation. So before I go, if you found this video valuable, I want to make sure you have everything you need to protect yourself from the IRS. So that's why I'm giving away a free copy of my book, The IRS Survival Guide, at theirssurvivalguide.com. So just head there now, grab your copy, and arm yourself with every strategy in the book, not just what I talked about in this video. Remember, theirssurvivalguide.com, completely free, no string attached. Definitely don't wait until the IRS comes knocking. Get prepared today. So if this video helped you, please subscribe and share it with a business owner you know who needs to hear this. And I'll see you in the next video.